guys. This is NHL Opening Faceoff. You share with us your favorite DFS and sports betting plays on tonight's 6-game slate. So, favorite DFS play at center. Who are you going with, Jeff?
I'm going to go with Sidney Crosby here. I mean, obviously we got a ton of big names on this slate, but I mean, I just like the way that the Penguins top line has been playing of late. Crosby's been a lot more aggressive, just looking like a better player since coming back from injury. Even in the last game, in like a defensive battle against the Flames, picked up an assist for people. So you look at Edmonton, you know, they allow a ton of shots on goal, still a little bit shaky in net. And I think the biggest thing with Crosby is, I mean, he's just more cost effective. I mean, you can fit in that Penguins top line a lot easier by paying down at center. Also like Trevor Zegras at 4,200 tonight. Ryan Getzlaf probably going to be out. So just a player who's got 14 shots on goal over his last 2 games. Very, very productive for the price there too.
All right, Paul, your pick for your favorite DFS play at center.
I love the call on Zegras. I won't duplicate that. And I'm also considering the fading of several of the top options at the middle of the ice. Look at the names: McDavid, Draisaitl, Crosby, Matthews, and McKinnon, but a lot of them are playing against each other. So with that said, I land on Mika Zibanejad of the Rangers for $6,800 in his favorable matchup against the Flyers, who are winless in their last 6 games, and they've given up 25 goals in that stretch. Meanwhile, Zibanejad's had 8 points and 23 shots on goal in that same 10-game stretch. He'll cost me $6,800. In truth, I will probably pay up for one of the other big boys to pair with the Rangers top center. I just got to see how I spend my money elsewhere.
Yeah, Zibanejad, $6,800. Who are you going to be going with, AJ?
Well, I'm loving this show already. You've got Jeff pumping the Penguins for me. Paul's trashing the Flyers. Like, this is the greatest show we've ever done, guys.
We're happy for you.
For me, look, there aren't a lot of times when you tout a player from Detroit this season. But I think tonight's a good opportunity to use a guy like Dylan Larkin, who's just 6,200, so he's not as pricey as the top of the bracket here. The Kraken continue to struggle. They won't have Chris Driedger as an option now that he's on IR, and that means they have to go back to Philip Grubauer, who has just 1 win in his last 8 appearances while allowing 3.1 goals per game. Seattle also could be without Jordan Eberle. So all of that to say, I think this is a good opportunity to maybe look at some of the guys from Detroit with Larkin. He was on a 7-game point streak until last night. I expect him to pick right up where he left off.
All right, let's go to favorite DFS play at wing, Paul.
I was surprised to see Troy Terry's price at only $5,600. I wonder what the other guys think about that, despite the fact he's had such an explosive first quarter of the season. And he's kept it up in the last 10 games with a point-per-game pace. So I certainly think he's got to be a useful play tonight at that price point. I also like Brady Tkachuk in his matchup against the Canucks. The Canucks don't have anybody who can counter all the physicality and skill that Brady Tkachuk brings to the table. And he's on a bit of a heater himself with 8 points in his last 10 games. He's only going to cost $5,900 this evening.
All right, what about you, AJ?
I think I'm going to look at another one of these like underutilized team matchups, and that's Vancouver going up against Ottawa. And for me, Connor Garland is a guy to look at tonight at 5,100. Look, granted, Ottawa won't have Matt Murray anymore to just like concede goals constantly. But the team as a whole gave up 4.42 goals in November. That was the highest in the league. The Canucks have gotten nearly all of their offense over the last 7 games from Garland, who has 4 goals over that stretch, including 1 with the power play. So the price tag at 5,100 is just too juicy to pick up with that good matchup tonight.
All right, Jeff, bring us home here in the Wings and Things department.
I'm just going to make it a better show for AJ because I love Artemi Panarin tonight. I mean, the Philadelphia Flyers, I mentioned them at the start of the year as a team I like to miss the playoffs. And they pulled the fast one on me over the last couple weeks, my prediction is coming to fruition here. It's a team that's just been terrible. I mean, over their last 5 or 6 games, especially Carter Hart regressing. Everything's just kind of regressing as we thought it might for the Flyers. Artemi Panarin, a little bit under his career stats right now, like shooting percentage, points per game. But I mean, this is just a player we know has a ton of upside. He's available at a very easy to fit in price at 7,100. And I think this is a great matchup for him, as I mentioned, with the Flyers. So Panarin definitely like my favorite pay-up option. Also, you got to give a shout-out to Jonathan Marchessault, averaging over 3 shots on goal per game this year, under 5K. It's just ridiculously cheap for a player who, top-line power play minutes and just been like an elite producer for fantasy so far this year.
All right, AJ, take us to the blue line. What is your favorite DFS play on the defensive end?
I think this is a spot where we don't want to get too cute with this tonight. There's a ton of good options on the board, but just pay up for Adam Fox or Cale Makar tonight. I'm going to lean towards Fox because he's $300 cheaper, has the better matchup versus the Flyers. But look, you can't deny the fact that Makar's value somehow gets even higher than it already is with the fact that Nathan MacKinnon's going to be back tonight and that ridiculous number one power play is going to be operating at full speed. And Makar is the linchpin on the blue line for that group. So I really think get one of these guys. If you can afford Makar, go that way, or take the slight savings and use Fox tonight.
All right, Geoff, AJ says don't get too cute. Where are you going?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's getting too cute, but I mean, I think Alex Pietrangelo at 6,600 is a little bit underpriced. That's kind of where I would prefer to go on the blue line. I mean, Makar is definitely has been the more elite point producer over the last couple weeks. There's no doubting that. But I mean, Pietrangelo in terms of block shots on goal, I mean, he's still the leader in long-term form in those categories. And I just like the Golden Knights. I mean, in this spot tonight, this is a team that's finally back to full strength. I get it. Anaheim's a better team this year, but they're not better than the Golden Knights. I think that you need to load up on them in this spot, quite frankly. And I think Pietrangelo is just undervalued. So he's my preferred paid-up target, to be honest. Also really like Vince Dunn at 3,800. If Giordano is out again, he's seeing first-line power play time. He's got a good matchup against Detroit, not a good penalty kill at all. And I think Vince Dunn at 3,800, regardless of if Giordano plays or not, is just a good value option at an under 4K.
All right, Paul, need your favorite DFS play at defense.
You know what? Makar's playing against my favorite club. I think it's a Stanley Cup final preview. I'll say that too. I know I said the big boys are going to cancel each other out at center, but I certainly don't expect a high-scoring game between the Leafs and Avs. And all that said, I don't know how you fade Cale Makar, even at his price point. He's got 16 points, 34 shots, and 13 block shots in his last 10 games. That's an average of 19.1 DraftKings points per game in his last 10 starts. That's amazing. And I also consider the Rangers' Jacob Trouba, if you want to save a little bit of money. He's recently ramped up his offensive production. It wasn't so long ago, a couple of years ago, that he was an offensive defenseman in the Winnipeg lineup, and he's starting to show that side of his game in New York with 6 points and 34 shots on goal, as well as 20 block shots in his last 10 games. So not bad numbers for him as well. And he only cost $5,000, and we like him against the Flyers tonight, don't we, fellas?
Geoff, yeah, it sounds like you have a couple people in agreement there, possibly one. Geoff, let's go to the DK Sportsbook here before everyone takes off. So give me your best play in the NHL tonight on the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. This is such a good spot for them. Anaheim's, again, they're an improved team, but they're coming off an emotional win last night over, a state rival, the LA Kings. Now they got to go home, and the Vegas Golden Knights coming in rested. Again, this is a team that's back to full strength. I mean, they've got Mark Stone, Pacioretty's back, Marchessault is back in the lineup. Minus 160, you say, well, I mean, this isn't giving the Ducks any respect, but I'd argue that Vegas at full strength, maybe is he getting a little bit undervalued here. I think you can even look to them on the puck line at plus 160 to cover that minus 1.52. But either way, I like going with the Golden Knights to win that game.
Paul, best hockey bet tonight. Give it to me.
You know what? I've feasted on the alternate total goals line this season, and I'm going to keep feeding myself tonight with a pair of easy ones, I think. I look to go to the over of 5.5 in the Knights-Ducks game, a game that features two potent offenses. The guys know it. Both teams are at full strength, and they're among the stingiest defensively, too. In fact, they're not among the stingiest defensively, too, I should say. In fact, I'm tempted to play the over on the alternate total of 6.5 for a 145 payoff. And then the Rangers have scored 14 goals in their last 3 games. The Flyers have been involved in total goals scored going over the 6 line that's on the books tonight. I think both sides will factor into a high-scoring game, so I'll pay the over of 7.5 on the alternate line for a 250 payoff. And I'll remind our listeners that it wasn't so long ago that Mika Zibanejad scored 5 against them all by himself.
Okay, AJ, give me your favorite hockey bet tonight, dude.
Well, Paul's going to hate this one, but I absolutely no doubt in my mind that you take the Avs at plus 110 on the money line tonight against the Leafs. Look, I don't think Toronto should be favored in this game. You've got Nathan MacKinnon coming back. I wouldn't be surprised to see that line flip potentially once he's officially activated off injured reserve. I would also consider, I mentioned the Red Wings. They're plus 100 tonight. You can get even money on them. And I think they have a solid chance of beating the Kraken here.